All right, so we're trying to get a motor together for the drift car. I had purchased this from a guy under the assumption that it was supposed to have been a low mileage rebuild. The ring ridge says that's a lie, along with the scoring on the crank and the kind of worn bearings. But mainly cylinders, this one's done. It's got to be bored. So we went and dug through the shed, and I have another one. We're gonna go through this one and throw new rings and bearings in it and go from there. So this whole ordeal is me, my friend Zach, and my brother Nicholas tearing everything down, getting everything cleaned, doing a little bit of checking and measuring, but nowhere near as much as we should do or you would do on a typical, good engine build. We're also kind of showing my brother how to do the wrong thing the right way, I guess is how you could look at it. So, we're not in any rush. And I had to go to town and get some parts and bearings from the house. So we're just, they're cleaning everything. And, pressure washer and air blower and degreaser. That was the extent of our cleaning. So here we are putting the new rings on the pistons, cleaning the pistons and rods some, putting the new rings on, checking to make sure, everything looked as it should, nothing was kind of out of whack or anything crazy damaged. And then putting the main bearings in, had to actually clean them some. It's also part of what I was doing. They were sitting in another block in my shed. And then here, we're taking some WD-40 and a rag and cleaning the crank, make sure everything's good with it. All the oil passages are clean. And drop it in. Gotta put some slickum on there. But also, this stuff, don't use it if you're not going to run the engine in the near future. If you're gonna build an engine and let it sit up for a few months, don't use that stuff because it can and sometimes will dry and harden, and then your engine will be seized up basically, and you'll have to run the oil pump, cycle oil through it, or do like I did in years past, tear the engine back apart because you thought you had like a rod that was ovaled or a main that was too tight. So you disassemble the engine, check tolerances on everything, and find out nothing was wrong. It was just that lube had hardened and had the motor froze up. So now we're putting main caps on, going through torque sequences, which is part of what I was looking up there. Looking up all the specs and tightening sequence to make sure, because, I don't trust my memory sometimes. And then spin everything over, crank spins freely, put rod bearings in, kind of get all the caps and everything laid out so that we can start dropping pistons in. And then typical for the way my luck goes and just the way things go, we had a problem with the ring compressor here, and we broke a ring. So then we dig through all the old ones and find the best one. So we have one used top ring on one cylinder. Then we go back to, putting everything else together, and it all goes smoothly from there.
You gotta kind of fight them.
Old, box of new.
Not empty.
Ta-da! Okay, same cam. I've been told that I guess this is where it goes. So we'll see. We'll see if it fits. Timing set on, double roller, cams in there, all 8 pistons, everything looks good. It turns over nice and free like it should. I guess that's it for right now. Insert the sound from Finding Dory. Don't be suspicious. Okay, so after getting the adjustment right, got it apart, and we weren't lied to about these. Somebody has just gone through them because those are brand new valve seals. And off camera, the other day before I left home, I did check and make sure I didn't have any leaks by filling the ports with soapy water, blowing air around the valve, and then turned the head, filled the combustion chamber with soapy water, and blew air, high pressure, around 100 psi or so, in the intake and exhaust ports. Pretty much checked in all 3 areas, blowing air from the other 2, and had no leaks out of anything. But I've got this Trick Flow spring kit for factory heads for small block Ford. These are a set of E7s. I had Summit ship them to my hotel since I'm working on the road this week. And these heads have different heights, so they give you different retainers for intake and exhaust. It also comes with shims, new locks, and valve seals, which I thought I was going to need, but apparently I don't. So it's one step that I don't have to fool with now. Anyway, now back to it. Okay, now what we're doing here is checking the installed height. They give you a tool. You just sit it down here on the spring seat like so, and essentially just look and see if you're from your spring base or spring seat to the retainer. And the one silver shim is dead on for this one. Might not look like it from the camera angle. I don't know if I was holding it perfect. But they give you a stack of 2 different thickness shims. I don't remember what they are, but the silver ones are thicker, black ones are thinner. So now, just to do it 15 more times. And here we go. one Ford E7 head with properly installed, to my knowledge, trick flow valve springs that are good for like 545 or 550 lift. And considering we're using an F-cam, the Ford Racing F303, because I already had it, it's left over from the last engine. These are some heads we had left over. You know, we did a quick refresh on a used short block. So we're going back to, you know, spare parts racing at its finest. And one down, one to go. Second head all done, everything measured again. All the valve seals are new in this one as well. So now I've just got to clean up my mess and put my chisel and my hammer back up. I'm going to bolt the rocker arms back on here, throw those springs back in, or in that box, because you never know. I've got, you know, a couple other sets of E7s. You never know if you're going to wind up with a broken valve spring like I did on the Monte Carlo. And if I threw stuff like that away, then I would have had to have bought springs for that car, which it's gonna get at some point, but not right now. Anyway, I'm gonna clean this up and get a shower and go to bed, because I've got to be at work in like 6.5 hours, something like that. Okay, so skipped a couple steps again. Got the lifters and rotator, the anti-rotators, retaining plate all in. Make sure the heads are cleaned off, and then about to slap them on. And again with, you know, water hose and air blower to dry things back off. Make sure everything's clean, or clean enough, and just putting everything back together. I did most of this in time lapse because I was kind of taking my time as I was going. Also, I'm usually listening to music, which YouTube doesn't like, so that's why most of this video is all in time lapse with just little bits here and there, and I figured I could just do voiceover like this. Alright. Get rocker arms loose so I can put push rods in. And blow through every one so that I know that I'm getting oil to the rockers, which on these 302s, 351s and all, I always run the oil pump with a drill before I put everything fully together, so I know I'm getting oil everywhere anyway. Just this helps potentially eliminate future problems in that area. And if I haven't already said, this is definitely a true to form spare parts racing build, because these are push rods out of a used motor. This is a used motor that we just did a quick rebuild, clean and rebuild on. The gasket kit that I'm using is leftover pieces of 2 or 3 kit, last 2 or 3 engines that I've put together. or cars I've put together. I'm missing a couple of pieces. I got to get a timing cover gasket this week, because apparently that one is one I'm missing. And I've got to get intake gaskets. I don't have a set of intake manifold gaskets left. And you know, a lot of people like to number cylinders, where everything came from. But the thing is a lot of this stuff came from 2 or 3 different engines, so at that point, really don't think it matters. I may be wrong. Some of you watching may point out a lot of things that I've done wrong, but it'll be okay. Alright, so I made a trip to town, got a timing cover gasket set and an oil pan gasket. 1-piece rubber, it's all I use. To hell with dealing with leaky cork. Got the oil pan surface cleaned off. I got to get the timing cover here, clean it up a little bit. And I also have this oil pan that I cleaned out the other night. There's a little bit of a dent right there. I don't know what from, but I'm just going to massage it back down and make sure there's not clearance with the pickup tube. Got to take the pickup tube and rinse it out and make sure that it's all good and clean, and go from there. Okay, this little abrasive wheel I picked up at Harbor Freight. It's a lot safer, especially on aluminum, than using like a roll-lock disc. Works great for cleaning off gasket material. And then, you know, typical brake clean degreaser and water hose and a razor blade. Getting everything, or getting timing cover cleaned up and ready to go on. Here's rinsing out the oil pickup tube. Again, just making sure it was clean, because like everything else, it's from a used engine. And then get it all buttoned up. And this may be overkill, but I've had such bad luck with timing covers leaking on 302s that I put silicone on both sides of the gasket. And just a nice thin smear, enough to hold it and everything. But I don't know how many times I've had water pump gasket or timing cover gaskets or water pump gaskets leak on these. So I get this water pump cleaned up and get it put on, only to find out later that I've got problems with it. Alright, so it's getting kind of late and I've got to go to work tomorrow. So I'm gonna gather up tools. Got this closed up for the most part, so we'll wrap it up in a trash bag. I'll go to work this week and come back when I get back home Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whenever. We'll pop the motor mounts off of that block. That's the old broken one that came out. We'll pop the motor mounts off, the lift chain off, put them on here, get this off the stand, get the backing plate, flywheel, clutch and all on it, and get it dropped in the car. And we'll go from there. Ta-da! Toast for the win. because we did apply heat because it didn't want to come out. Ow, that's hot. I forgot to take the GoPro with me when I went to actually finish putting the car together, and I was so busy working on it that I didn't really do any video, just took a couple of pictures. And here's where I was mentioning about the water pump. The snout was the wrong length, wrong diameter pulley. It was 11 o'clock at night, so I cleaned up the old broken water pump from the engine that blew the crank and put it on. When no one in town stocks shim stock and you need to shim a rocker arm, but you sure do love barbecue water. That. And we'll make some shims, and we'll install our slightly too long push rods, and we'll be good. As is obvious, because this is a video from back like June, July, early August, I did get the car back together and made it to Mid-Pond for the Stang Bash event, which was my goal. Thanks for watching. Maybe you don't hate this, and we'll be back.